I'm out here on the road, making my way from Boise, Idaho over to Palisades Tahoe for the Broken Arrow TrailCon Extravaganza 2026. A little bit of shakeout here in more ways than one. I'll be doing the triple out at Broken Arrow. The vertical race is tomorrow, followed by 46K on Saturday and 23K on Sunday to top it off. But I actually did do something of a tune-up race on Saturday, which was, 4 or 5 days ago by now. Dirty Dog Marathon, trail marathon, back home in Boise. Always a fun race to do. I haven't done it in a few years. I wasn't sure if I was gonna do it this year, being just a week before Broken Arrow, but given that I'm working my way back from injury, definitely not close to full speed, anywhere near there. In fact, figured I'd do a little bit of tune-up at that race, see how I feel before tackling the steep terrain at Palisades Tahoe. I haven't run at all since that race. That was Saturday. I had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was a long driving day. Today's Thursday. Haven't run at all since the race due to a number of factors, just being extremely busy preparing for the trip, trying to get stuff straightened out at home, finalizing the van, which is a big thing. Put a lot of effort into getting the basic setup where I could be staying in that thing for like 7 or 8 days to at least make it passable. So I didn't have any time at all to squeeze in any running, wall-to-wall busyness before I left yesterday. Also had these Adidas Terrex Agravic SL shoes in for about a week or so. I've been itching to try them out, but again, not a lot of miles to squeeze in. Figured I'd bring them with me on this trip. Hopefully find some miles before or after, in between some of the racing and craziness over at TrailCon. I've been pretty much using this shoe casually all week though, walking around, pretty much going out and about nonstop in these shoes, just trying to get a feel for them. And it's definitely an intriguing setup here from Adidas. Kind of a surprise, actually. Didn't know this one was on the way. Got tipped off from one of the comments in one of my videos. Adidas does seem to have a pretty full Terrex lineup between Speed 2, TT, ASU 2, of course, and also the regular Agravic 4, all of which I've tested, except that last one though, the regular Agravic. So that puts Adidas at a fully stacked 5 model lineup across the Terrex platform. But to their credit, Adidas has done a good job of differentiating all those models. There's not too much overlap between at least the models that I've tested. Again, haven't tested the regular Agravic 4, which is probably the one that has the most overlap with this one, but between the Speed Ultra 2, Speed 2, and TT, they're all distinctly different and unique models. Agravic SL here is, of course, an extension of their renowned SL road model. That road model is, of course, kind of in the super trainer category, although quite quick in that regard. Perhaps I'm taking this one a little bit out of its comfort zone here with some rocky and steeper terrain here, although I do feel like it can handle it. Certainly shoes like the Speed Ultra 2, if you can handle that shoe in mountain 100 milers, I don't see any reason why you can't take this Agravic SL in this kind of rocky terrain. Quick run through of specs here as I wind my way up. I'm not sure how far I'll head up here. It looks pretty high over there. I don't know if I want to do this much the day before a vertical race, but Agravic SL here, I've gotten a US 10 EU 44, same size that I have in the rest of my Adidas models. Weight comes in at 10.3 ounces, 292 grams. You've got a stack height of 37-31 specified. That's a 6 mil drop. I do measure 36 at the heel. You've got Adidas Continental rubber underfoot, full coverage except for slight little cutout, similar to other Agravic models around the forefoot area. You've got a mix of 3.5 and 4 millimeter lugs. The major notable feature here though with the SL is the ground platform. I've got 122 74 86 underfoot. That is pretty much the exact platform that you find in the TT model. Noticeably broader under the middle of the foot, also a little bit under the rear as well, and also less of that tail rocker that you get in the Adidas Speed Ultra 2. So underfoot, you're having platform similarities to that TT model, but with the foam and the energy in this shoe, you're getting a little bit closer to that Speed Ultra 2, which I'll talk about. Speed Ultra 2, of course, is full Lightstrike Pro with that energy rod, forked rod setup, coming together under the middle of the shoe, forking out under the forefoot. You also have full Lightstrike Pro here with this Agravic SL, and that is another major feature here. The other models in the Adidas Terrex lineup do not have full Lightstrike Pro. The Agravic 4, Speed 2, and TT, they have varying degrees. I'm not sure about the Agravic 4, but the other two have varying degrees of Lightstrike Pro mixed in or sandwiched in with regular Lightstrike. Speed 2 has that Lightstrike Pro closer to the ground with a firmer layer above, while TT is the reverse. You got that Lightstrike Pro under the foot with the firmer layer closer to the ground, of course with a rock shield sandwiched in between. So they reversed that there, likely to get a little softness underfoot before you're getting into the firmness of that plate sandwiched in the middle. Both of those models have way firmer feels underfoot for different reasons. Speed 2, obviously speed-oriented shoe, you're closer to the ground, less stack there. I want to give you that ground feel and control and more connection when you're picking up the pace. TT, of course, has that rock plate in the mix, and in technical terrain, they don't want to make the shoe overly soft on top of the rock plate. They're just leaning into that firmer, I would say more European style feel underfoot as opposed to, say, the American faster runnable racy style ASU 2. But perhaps you were looking for more of that Lightstrike Pro goodness underfoot, that soft, somewhat bouncy, energetic for sure feel underfoot that you definitely don't get in either the TT or the Speed 2. Definitely have it in the ASU 2, but that has its own geometries that definitely don't work for a lot of runners. With the giant rocker in that ASU 2, primarily under the heel, I find, it makes that shoe very forefoot oriented. Have to be forward leaning, have to be not up on your toes, but again, forward leaning, up on your forefoot for sure. It's not a shoe that is going to be stable at all if you're a heel striker, especially in varied terrain. Ooh, this is a pretty solid climb here. I think I'll maybe try to see what's over that away, but camped around through those rocks over there around the corner into that canyon and wound my way around here. 1.8 miles, about 1,600 feet so far. So this Agravic SL is trying to kind of split the difference here, but perhaps lean not too racy as some of those models here. Certainly you see that in the upper design here, but full Lightstrike Pro with that wider ground platform, also notably without that aggressive rocker at the heel. It rides much more like a kind of regular shoe, not an aggressive racer, and this is going to be a great fit for a lot of runners, even for racing, I would say, certainly with that Lightstrike Pro. They did also include some type of midfoot shank in here, and that's probably to, you know, they used to have those torsion plates, so they're well aware of how that works, adds stability to a shoe, perhaps adds a touch of propulsion, or at least leads the shoe to not feeling as loose on the run, certainly with a softer Lightstrike Pro here. So you've got that midfoot shank in the mix here, but it is certainly less aggressive than those kind of torsion plates, or whatever they were called in previous models. The original Speed Ultra, that model, which I really did like. Can I get up here? I think I can. I remember in that original Speed Ultra, not the Speed Ultra 1 or the Speed Ultra 2, they had that Speed Ultra, which everybody really loved, including me. It's a little loose here. Oh, there's a little path. Should be okay going down, I think. Maybe I should go that way. Maybe I'll cut across the grass on the way back. But I remember with that original Speed Ultra, the torsion plate, I believe as it was called, was quite prominent under the middle of the shoe. Actually, a little bit firm, in fact. This one, definitely not as noticeable. You can definitely feel a little bit of tension under the middle of the shoe, and that's kind of doing what it's intended to do. Not make the shoe feel as loose underfoot with that softer foam. Let's go this way. Because the plate here, as with that other original Speed Ultra, does not extend under the forefoot, which I like at this point because it's pretty loose. You could feel a little bit more grip, a little bit more ground feel under the forefoot than you would have with, say, the plate in the TT. Well, I've come this far. Hope I'm not losing my train of thought here. Hope you're enjoying coming along with me on this one. I would not want to be doing this kind of route, this kind of stuff underfoot in the Adidas Speed Ultra 2, that's for sure. Maybe the Speed 2, because that's thinner underfoot, of course. Be fine for steeper terrain like this. But that ASU 2, definitely feel like, even though the stacks are close, feel like you're a little jacked up in that one. Feel like you're higher. I think it's with that narrower platform in the middle of the shoe, just gives you the sense that you're on that narrower, taller platform. Even though here, I think the stack is only 2 mil less measured at the heel, but much wider on the middle and under the heel. So you have that wider base of stability and does not feel as tall, even though it's effectively almost as tall. Whew. Oh wow, okay. Beautiful playground over here, that's for sure. Beautiful spot for a close-up, what do you say? I'm on my way up that trail. around this way here, and this last part over here was not really a trail. It's kind of going up. It's pretty steep and loose, and I actually did feel quite comfortable in these. Good ground feel, as I said. You got that shank under the middle of the foot, probably located somewhere around here. Maybe this line potentially is an indicator of where it's located, although I don't think it goes quite as far up front here. I have good ground feel under the forefoot, although nice and soft with the Lightstrike Pro, energetic on the run, although I am doing a lot more steeper hiking and slower running, less fast and bouncy running on this route here today. But climbing up, good feel, good flex on the forefoot. Let me pop one off here. There's that full length Lightstrike Pro there. You could feel it. It's not marshmallowy soft, but when I press into it, you know, you could feel the rebound. You could feel the energy that it's giving back to you. Really great feel underfoot. Let's flex it. Very nice. Again, the plate is somewhere's around this orientation. I don't know the shape of it, but when I flex it, I could feel it. Good, even flex under the forefoot. That's what I felt when I was climbing up that little off-trail steep section there. Good contour under the forefoot, adaptability there, good feel, but you are protected as well with the plate under there, under the middle of the foot, and also gives you that stability. So when you're going up, keeps you from being a little bit too loose and flexy. Now, one difference between this model and, say, if you're thinking about racing in the Speed Ultra 2, again, let's take a look at this heel here. So the Speed Ultra 2 really swoops back, and of course, extremely narrow here and extremely narrow there. So you're on like a very extreme teeter-totter with that shoe. You have to be up front in that Speed Ultra 2. Not so with the TT model that I tested out in the technical trails out on the East Coast in New Jersey. And this is essentially, I have it measured within 1 or 2 millimeters difference, within a margin of error between this ground platform and that one. It's probably exactly the same underfoot. I think the rubber and the lug orientation is also exactly the same, but very grounded here from, say, this front forefoot area through the middle and to the rear, and I think that's a setup that works. It definitely works a lot better for most runners. You have to be speedy, have to be fast, have to be running aggressively for something like the Speed Ultra 2, really a racing shoe. This is, I think, billed as a super trainer, but I think if you, again, want, you know, you have a premium midsole here, Lightstrike Pro, premium energetic foam here, not a firm plate feel underfoot. There's enough protection under the forefoot. What I have, around 31 millimeters or something under the forefoot. There's enough there without a plate to be protective enough. And again, you have full coverage rubber, 4 mil, 3 mil here. That's going to absorb a lot. You don't necessarily need that full rock plate with the TT. Although, if you are running, I did go through some minor scree section. If you're on that kind of rockiness all the time, like European type of alpine terrain, really rugged mountain stuff perhaps behind me over there, then you might want that full rock plate protection. But if you're in more kind of rugged, dragonfly over here, more energetic feel, if you're in that kind of mix of rugged and runnable terrain, going to work right here. And again, protected under the middle of the foot there. Coming back to comparisons with, say, the ASU2, the upper is different. The weight is a little bit heavier, slightly heavier than the AS2, and it comes down to probably the upper construction in the heel area. You have this more standard kind of trainer style heel setup. The upper itself not as crazy lightweight. It's it's an open mesh material here, extremely breathable, but different. Not that lightweight design that you see in those other Terrex models, Speed 2, TT, and ASU2. This is more of like a trainer type upper, although I had it, what was it, 10.3 ounces. For, say, a super shoe, it's not a super shoe, not a carbon fiber plate, but it does have a super shoe foam here, fully underfoot with the shank. Again, it doesn't have the super shoe style upper, but it is very comfortable. So I know the upper of the ASU2 or some of those Adidas models, they can be a little bit tight. I have all three in a 10. This one is definitely, grab it here, this is a 10, and I think this is the roomiest of all the models, and it could just be the material here. I have a legit full thumbs in this same 10 as I have in those other models, and it definitely feels way wider than the ASU2 Similar around here to the TT, definitely more length than the TT. So I have all three in US 10, same size, but this one is definitely the roomiest, and it may come down to the like pliability of this less racy, less dialed in upper. So you're not going to get that fully strapped in feel, but that may work better for a lot of runners. If you do have a higher volume foot and you fill this out a little bit more than I do, you'll probably have a much better and more secure fit in any type of terrain. For me, this might be a little bit loose for sure for racing and, you know, getting kind of on tilt and stuff. I don't have as much foothold as those other ones, but I do tend to feel a little squeezed at times in the front, especially the front of the ASU2. I think it does taper a little bit more, and it's certainly snugger around the foot. I was considering that maybe I should actually have a 10.5 in the ASU2, though I would definitely not wear a 10.5 in this one. 10 is quite roomy, and I think for training purposes, I could even probably go 9.5 true to size, and I never wear a 9.5 in Adidas. I did wear my Run Anatomic Comfort socks here because it is so roomy. So this has padded area around here and in the heel. So I need to wear this type of sock with this shoe due to the greater volume in it. If I had a 9.5, it would probably fit me really well with a thinner sock, or kind of maybe a little, maybe even this one, but it would just be like a tighter, more dialed fit. So I have not run in that, I think it's the Evo SL model, the road model, the road variety of this Agravic SL here. I've heard from friends that that shoe is amazing, but I don't do enough road running to really want to pick up a shoe like that. But now I kind of see why that shoe is so popular, and I could see this being an extremely popular shoe on the trails, just because the comfort fit of it is just fantastic, and I think it can handle well enough in enough terrain to even be a racing model, because you do have a premium foam here, and again, you're going to get more comfort in this upper. Perhaps if you're racing, you might not like some of these aggressive style uppers. I mean, there's Cascadia Elite is another model. I talked about having a 10.5 in that model, and the Matrix upper is great, but at the front, it's a little, some people have been a little squeezed in that shoe. Perhaps you want to go with a super foam with a more comfortable upper, and that could be your ticket for certainly training. Absolutely. This is a killer training shoe, and maybe even racing. Okay, I gotta make it safely over to Palisades Tahoe. I am not Kilian Jornet, that's for sure, but I think this is doable. You can see I'm trying to side hill it a little bit down here. This is a little bit easier than that steeper section that I kind of climbed up on. Where's the trail though? Got to get a little lower. I'll angle this way. But coming to the foothold here, it does feel quite good. I do not notice too much foot movement here. Again, I think I could go with a 9.5 in this if I really wanted a dial fit, if I wanted to, say, do some training more often in this type of terrain. Then I would definitely want to be a little bit more dialed, 9.5 say, but at the 10 here, a little bit of looseness as you saw, kind of around in the forefoot area, but definitely not a hindrance. The arch contouring is quite neutral. Again, it's definitely better if you remember the original Speed Ultra. That one felt pretty prominent with that flavor of torsion plate under the arch. This one, not as prominent, more of a softer feel for sure. You got Lightstrike Pro on top of that torsion plate. So definitely a softer feel on top of the plate and less aggressiveness, less protruding up into the arch. All right, so on the way back down, get to try out some more running than I did on the way up here. It's also going to give me a better handle on the protective aspect of it, running faster downhill, a little bit more impact, some rocky spots here and there. Again, this is my first run in the shoe, so it felt good enough kind of using it casually throughout the week. I was out in this terrain last year, not same time. I came this way on the way to Mammoth. I have a video where I was talking over my vertical race picks for that race in this similar area. I didn't come this way though, so I was in a different spot. I passed by, there's a yurt somewhere down there. But I knew this was a pretty rocky and rugged area and had no reservations about taking this shoe out here based on how they were feeling just even walking around. As I'm coming down here, yeah, man, they feel great. Can definitely more easily sit back a little, sit back comfortably, landing on that middle rear of the shoe as I'm coming downhill here in a way that feels a little bit awkward in the Speed Ultra 2. The thing about that shoe is even coming downhill, you still have to kind of, you want to like touch down with your forefoot first because there's such a difference in width under the forefoot compared to the middle and the rear. And the rocker, as I mentioned plenty of times, just feels more stable. Here, no problem, just sitting back slightly, landing on that solid middle rear of the shoe and just kind of cruising down. Feels fantastic here. I'm not gonna bomb down here too crazy. I do have 3 days of racing lined up. By the way, I'm not full speed. I'm making excuses already. Yeah, but it's true. About a month back from injury, kind of doing them for fun. I was thinking if I will actually race all 3 of them. I'm not sure. Who am I kidding? I probably will do the vertical, and that won't be as damaging on the legs. So that means I'll definitely probably do the longer distance, 46, the next day. And then at that point, what the heck, I'm already there. Nothing to do but hang out at TrailCon the rest of the week. Why not do the 23K? So I'm calling it, barring catastrophe. Probably run all 3 distances, but want to make it down safely today so I could get to tomorrow's starting line. +1 for trail gators here. No knock on the Agravic SL, by the way, but I do have some dirt and fine pebbles and stuff. Very dry, mix of every rock imaginable out here today. Stuff is going to get in your shoe unless you have one of those sweet integrated ankle collars or a trail gator. So I did actually race 30 Dog Marathon in my Trado trail gators with the Kip Summit race. 26 miles, 5,000 plus feet up and down. Not as rocky top to bottom as this, but certainly as dry and sandy. And I had not a speck of dust inside my shoes. So check out my trail running gators video. Also, Topo Pursuit 3 video. I'm gonna be racing in those gators this weekend for sure. So definitely stay tuned for more with the Agravic SL here. Once I get back home to Boise, I'll have definitely more runnable trails to contend with and pick up the pace a bit in these shoes. Also, I have some trainer style shoes. Definitely good comparisons for this one. Thinking the Alta Mesa 300 V2, perhaps Aeroglide 4 gravel, Scarpa Golden Gate LT, a few others in the mix as well, but certainly see some comparisons with this shoe. Let me know what you want to see down in the comments. If you are heading over to Broken Arrow or TrailCon and you see me, say hi. I'd love to see and talk to some of you over there. I'll be trying to get to some of the demo runs and stuff, but I did all of them last year, or a lot of them last year, but this year I'll be doing the Broken Arrow races ahead of TrailCon, so we'll see how I feel. More chance to maybe hike and talk with some of you out there, we'll see. So please say hi. Hopefully see you over there, or see you out on the trails somewhere along the way here or back in Boise. I'm gonna try to lightly edit some of these videos so I could get stuff out quickly while I'm out there. So if you have to deal with some rocky cuts over these next few videos or so while I'm in my mobile editing, humble running mobile over there, you know, it is what it is. I'm on the road here. So thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.